Forests have always had a certain fascination for people. They are the object of our aspirations and our admiration. They uplift our spirits and are a factor in our physical health. They contain the most vital part of nature. Forests are the home of water. The mountain slopes on which they grow capture the moisture of the clouds and mists, which fall to the earth as rain. The forests absorb the water, nurturing water sources, and provide a habitat that fosters new life, creating beautiful scenery and enriching cultural and spiritual life. In 1902, the Taiwan Practice Forest, College of Agriculture of the Tokyo Imperial University was established. This was the forerunner of the NTU Experimental Forest. In 2002, name changed to the Experimental Forest, College of Bioresources and Agriculture, National Taiwan University. It has now been 60 years since NTU took over management of the forest, 1949 to 2009. Its four main objectives are academic research, teaching and field practice, resources conservation, and demonstration in forest management. The Experimental Forest is located slightly to the north of the Tropic of Cancer. It lies inside Nantou County and spans the townships of Lugu, Shuili, and Xinyi, covering a total area of 32,785 hectares. It accounts for 1% of Taiwan's land area. The geology and terrain is complex, rising from an altitude of 220 meters on the banks of the Jiushui River to 3,952 meters at the peak of Yushan. This range of altitude means that the forest encompasses subtropical, temperate, cool temperate, cold temperate, and subfrigid climatic areas. The different climates have resulted in the development of different types of flora, and the various climatic belts form an altitude chart of Taiwan's forests. The diverse habitats and variety of forest resources within the experimental forest make it ideal as a location for experimentation, research, teaching, and practice. Nurturing forest resources, environmental conservation, and ensuring biodiversity and habitat are the primary mission of the experimental forest. It is also dedicated to providing environmental education, management of forestry production, and supporting sustainable forestry operations. The initial purpose of the experimental forest was to provide teachers and students of NTU's forestry department with a location for teaching and practical work. Since the first group of 12 students arrived here in 1950, more than 10,000 students from both NTU and other schools have spent time at the experimental forest facility. In 1987, the experimental forest began to provide instruction and recreation opportunities for students of technical and vocational agricultural colleges. The 9/21 earthquake in 1999 and Typhoon Toraji in 2001 caused considerable damage to the forest environment. The completion of the first phase of reconstruction efforts in Shito saw a marked upgrade in training facilities, including improvements to nursery, an observation tower, the Phoenix Logging Road, and Mountain Ridge Trail. bamboo cottage, and other facilities. New facilities added at this time include the Forest Ecology Exhibition Center, the Giant Rock Scenic Area, and an astronomical observatory built in cooperation with the NTU Physics Department. Other facilities that were subsequently completed include the Plant Evolution Exploration Park, the Bamboo House, the Meadow Outdoor Performance Amphitheater, the University Gully Debris Park, and the Forest Exploration Park. In 2003, in line with the government policy to introduce outdoor education through primary and secondary school, the Bamboo Arboretum, Conifer Arboretum, and Begonia area were all adopted to meet the needs of promoting environmental education to all classes of society. In 2006, short-term exchange programs with students and researchers from Canada, France, and Poland were initiated. In 2007, the Biodiversity, Agriculture, and Culture of Taiwan Summer Program, organized by the NTU's College of Bioresources and Agriculture, was held here. Research is one of the experimental forest's most important functions. As early as 1921, this area was already established for long-term research. There are now 140 facilities spread over a 250-hectare area. Main research areas include timber increment, stand structure, and progeny provenance testing. In addition, there are 6 microweather testing stations located on Chushan that have accumulated 69 years of continuous weather data since 1941. These stations now use automated digital monitoring systems. When it was first established, only one full-time researcher was stationed at the experimental forest. Since 1999, this number has risen to 21. And the facility actively engages in international academic exchanges and projects on better forest management, environmental change, conservation, and resource development.
全世界，那包括我们台湾做这方面研究的，focus on public service.
It's also good to see this
give the last presentation of these 2 days of talks.
In 2007 and 2008, CO2 flux monitoring towers were constructed in Pingdong and Shito. In 2008, a project on the breeding and analysis of energy tree species was launched. Lumber use and multi-use management. During the time of the Japanese occupation, the then practiced forest was planted primarily with Cryptomeria japonica and broadleaf trees introduced from Southeast Asia, in line with the policy favoring logging operations. After a retrocession, small areas of homogeneous forest planted with Cryptomeria japonica, Cunninghamia lanceolata, and Taiwania cryptomyriodites were planted, covering an area of 8,000 hectares. In 1976, the government introduced a reformation of Taiwan's forestry policy to focus on multi-use management. Logging was restricted to small areas in which indigenous Chemiceraparis formosensis and Zelkova serrata were planted. In 2001, in line with the National Afforestation Drive, 1,154 hectares were planted. In 2007, in line with the UN's Plant for the Planet, the Billion Tree Campaign, the Climate Protection Memorial Forest and the corporate adopted forest. Forest covering a total area of 30 hectares was planted through cooperation with the Global Change Research Center in NTU and the Environmental Quality Protection Foundation. In 1999, recruited first group of volunteer workers. At the present time, 4 groups, a total of 210 people, have been recruited. These volunteers cater to 20,000 visitors each year. 2004, the University Council approved 5 nature education areas in Xiaoping, Fenghuang, Xitou, Hesi, and Dongpu to promote ecotourism. Methods that focused on the natural environment were used instead of traditional disaster recovery methods in the aftermath of the 9/21 earthquake in 1999 and Typhoon Taraji in 2001. In 2002, communities within the experimental forest area were encouraged to participate in the Forestry Bureau's Community Forestry Project. With global issues such as climate change and loss of biodiversity coming to the fore, the experimental forest began projects in 2004 to strengthen biodiversity, sustainability of natural resources, and conservation. In 2005, in line with the National Land Restoration Strategic Program and Action Plan, a further 200 hectares of land was designated for reforestation. Forest fire prevention efforts and patrols targeting illegal logging and clearing have been supplemented by satellite imaging, GPS technology, and wireless communications, part of the Forest Protection Map platform system. In 2009, illegal land use was investigated through the application of remote satellite imaging. The environmental forest aims to achieve its 4 principal goals of academic research, teaching and field practice, resources conservation, and demonstration in forest management through improving natural science education, biodiversity, environmental monitoring, ecotourism, and community afforestation projects, as well as combating global warming, developing biofuels, and improving sustainable forest management.